students, how are you all doing? A very good afternoon. Okay, fantastic. So, dear students, we are in the second part as well as the last part of theory of consumer behavior. Okay, first of all, let's revise consumer behavior part one, what all we did there, and then we will come to part two. Okay, so to sum it up, first of all, we understood the meaning of the term consumer behavior or equilibrium. It is the point of maximum satisfaction for the consumer. Then, how do we arrive at this equilibrium point? Or how many methods are there to arrive at this equilibrium point? So, friends, there are two methods to arrive at this equilibrium point. What are the two methods, sir? Number one is the cardinal approach. Number two is the ordinal approach. Cardinal approach was given by Alfred Marshall, and we had already discussed that. Correct? Under cardinal approach, it is assumed that utility is quantifiable. Utility can be expressed in terms of numbers. And therefore, we studied the concept of law of diminishing marginal utility. What does this law state? The law of diminishing marginal utility tells us that as we consume more and more units of a commodity, the satisfaction derived from each additional unit keeps on falling. Yes, sir, we remember law of diminishing MU. Beyond that, we discussed how MU is calculated. It is TU of n items minus TU of n minus 1 items. That is what marginal utility is all about. After this, what we discussed? We discussed that whenever we talk about cardinal approach equilibrium, there are two concepts, one commodity world and two commodity world. In one commodity world, how is the equilibrium achieved? Equilibrium is achieved at the point where price is equals to marginal utility for that commodity. But under ordinal approach, we did not discuss anything as such. But under two commodity world, the concept was MUX by PX equals to MUY by PY. Our syllabus did not demand much in terms of, two commodity world. So in one commodity world, we discussed further that a consumer will continue buying commodity till the point price becomes equals to marginal utility. Okay. So what was the one commodity world equilibrium condition? Price is equals to marginal utility. This all topics we did, and around that some extra topics we had revised relating to cardinal approach. But remember, cardinal approach told that utility can be numerically expressed. What is utility? Want satisfying power of a commodity. So utility can be expressed in numbers. Utility या satisfaction को numbers में express कर सकते हैं. This is what cardinal approach told us. But now we are on to ordinal approach. Ordinal approach, also called indifference curve analysis or indifference curve approach. Shall we begin, everybody? If the first class is revised. Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, great. So everybody seems to be on the same page as us. Okay, fantastic. Now, we talk about ordinal approach. Which approach are we talking about? Ordinal approach. Sir, what does ordinal approach tell us? Ordinal approach tell us that utility can be ranked. Utility can be ranked, but it cannot be assigned a numerical value. Utility can't be assigned a numerical value. Under ordinal approach, utility can't be assigned a numerical value. Sir, we did not understand this. Suppose for your lunch, I keep in front of you. Suppose for your lunch, I keep, pay attention everyone. Suppose for your lunch, I keep in front of you, let's say pizza, let's say pasta, let's say noodles. Okay. Then I ask you, what will you want to have first? Now, obviously, different people will give different answers. But suppose somebody likes noodles very much. They might say that they will have noodles first, then maybe pizza, then maybe pasta. So see, what you have done here is, you have not assigned a numerical value. You have not quantified that you like noodles this much. How much do you like noodles? We have no idea. But now we have some idea that if ranking be given, you are ranking noodles as number one. So basically order, you can place them in order. Orderly arrangement is possible. This is what I'm telling. Orderly arrangement is possible. Orderly arrangement is possible. This is what ordinal approach is all about. To arrange items in an orderly fashion. To arrange items in an orderly fashion. It is possible according to what you think will satisfy your wants the most. But is it possible to assign each commodity a unique value? No. Ranking? Yes. Friends, is it crystal clear, everyone? Is this the meaning of ordinal clear? So what does ordinal approach mean? Ordinal approach means everybody. Now I will explain in Hindi. Ordinal approach का मतलब होता है कि कोई चीज हमें कितना पसंद है उसे हम ऑर्डर में अरेंज कर सकते हैं, उसे हम रैंकिंग डेफिनेटली दे सकते हैं, बट हमें वो चीज कितना पसंद है उसको हम न्यूमेरिकली नहीं बता सकते. मतलब मान लीजिए अगर आपके सामने पिज्जा रखा हुआ है, आपके सामने पास्ता रखा हुआ है, आपके सामने नूडल्स रखा हुआ है, तो आप रैंकिंग में ये कह सकते हो कि सबसे ज्यादा आपको नूडल्स पसंद है, फिर आपको पिज्जा पसंद है और फिर आपको पास्ता पसंद है. ये आप कह सकते हो, बट नूडल्स आपको कितना पसंद है वो आप ऑर्डिनल अप्रोच के अंदर कह नहीं सकते. उम्मीद है बातचीत क्लियर होगा, क्योंकि ऑर्डिनल अप्रोच का मीनिंग क्लियर नहीं होगा तो आज क्लास में कुछ भी समझ नहीं है. इज इट क्लियर एवरीवन? व्हाट डज ऑर्डिनल अप्रोच मीन? Yes, got it, sir. Very, very good. Very, very good. Now, apply some common sense to in ordinal approach. In ordinal approach, let me ask you a question. What is more logical to study? One commodity world or two commodity world? There is no three or four. So let's talk about one commodity world and two commodity world. In ordinal approach, which one is more logical to study? You all tell me. If you have understood, you will give the correct answer. Harbinger means carrier, somebody who carries something. Okay. So, you all are correct. Two commodity world. Array, you try and understand. If you want to arrange something as per your preference, for your preference to work, there should be at least two commodities. And yes, that is why in ordinal approach, there is nothing called one commodity world. It is all about two commodity world only. It is all about two commodity world only. There is nothing here called one commodity world. I hope it's crystal clear, everyone. Very, very good. Very, very good. So friends, this ordinal approach was given by Hicks and Allen. Ordinal means order. Ordinal means order. And as per this approach, to arrive at equilibrium, we must have knowledge of two subjects. We must have knowledge of two subjects, or rather two topics. Sir, what do we need to have knowledge of? Sir, what do we need to have knowledge of? My dear students, you need to have knowledge of two subjects. Number one, indifference curve, and number two, budget line. All of you need to have knowledge of indifference curve and budget line. All of you need to have knowledge of indifference curve and yes, guess what? Budget line. That's correct, everyone. That's correct, everyone. Only when you understand indifference curve and budget line will you be able to arrive at the consumer's equilibrium point. Only when you understand the indifference curve and the budget line will you be able to arrive at the consumer's equilibrium point. Got it? Okay, great. So, sir, question number one. What is indifference curve? First of all, how does it look and what is it? Can you see the diagram here, everyone? Can you see the diagram here? Yes, this is the indifference curve. Something shaped like a C. This shape is called convex to the origin. This shape is called convex to the origin. But sir, what is indifference curve? I am telling you, under ordinal approach, you should have knowledge of two things. Indifference curve and budget line. Correct? Now, sir, explain what is indifference curve. My dear students, in this curve, that is given in front of you all see 4 points A, B, C, and D. Yes or no? But in reality, does this curve not contain infinite points? Yes, in reality, this curve contains infinite points. What does this curve show? This curve shows various combinations. What did I say? Various combinations of two commodities that give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Meaning what, sir? Meaning what, sir? I will explain the meaning. Suppose combination A represents 1 apple and 10 oranges. So the amount of hunger that is satisfied when a person has 1 apple and 10 oranges is equal to combination B when the same person gets to it 2 apples and 7 oranges, which is equal to when combination C arrives. That is wherein the person is getting to it 3 apples and 5 oranges, which is again equal to a situation where the person is having 4 apples and 4 oranges. This is the concept, everybody. This is the concept of indifference curve analysis. This is the concept of indifference curve analysis. It marks the various point or it connects the various point which represents combination that give the same level of satisfaction. You know what is the meaning of indifference? Indifference means consumer does not care whether they are having combination A or combination B, their satisfaction level is same. Now in Hindi, sir, indifference curve दो गुड्स का अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन दिखाता है, एक गुड ज्यादा दूसरा गुड कम, जब तक सारे कॉम्बिनेशन सेम लेवल ऑफ सेटिस्फेक्शन ना दे. तो मतलब इंडिफरेंस कर्व पे जितने पॉइंट्स होंगे वो दिखाते हैं दो अलग अलग गुड्स का कॉम्बिनेशन, एंड अंतिम रिजल्ट यही है कि दोनों गुड्स कॉम्बिनेशन में सेटिस्फेक्शन लेवल सेम ही दे रहे, सेटिस्फेक्शन लेवल सेम ही दे रहे. आई होप एवरीवन इट्स क्रिस्टल क्लियर सो फार. यस और नो प्लीज. Correct. Correct, everyone. Very good. So, what is indifference curve? A curve showing various combination of two commodities. A curve showing various combination of two commodities that give the same level of satisfaction to the consumers. I hope it's crystal clear, everyone. And all this A, B, and C and D are representing same combinations. All this A, B, C, and D are representing some combination, all giving same satisfaction. So what is different about this combination? The quantity of items they contain. So for example, in some apples are more, in some combination oranges are more. That is the only difference. And obviously there is sacrifice involved. If you have more apples, you will have to sacrifice some oranges. That is obviously going to take place. Okay. This graph is a graph of indifference curve. Okay. And this graph shape is called convex to the origin. Convex to the origin. Convex to the origin. So everyone in your copy, write it down if you are maintaining notes. Not much, only this one. Indifference curve shows various combination of indifference curve shows various combination of indifference curve shows various combination of two commodities that give same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Indifference curve shows various combination of two commodities that give same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Indifference curve shows various combination of two commodities that give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Every diagram, every graph is very important. We will draw the graph, but first you need to keep it in mind. Indifference curve shows what? Various combination of what? Two commodities that give same level of satisfaction to the consumer. That what? Gives same level of satisfaction to the, yes, consumer. Very, very good. And what is the shape called? This shape of graph is called convex to the origin. Sir, why this shape? Why not like this? I know you all are thinking this. I will answer that. But first of all, it is convex to the origin. Yes, it is downward sloping. Yes, it is downward sloping and it is convex to the origin. Downward sloping means from left to right, it is going downwards. From left to right, it is going downwards. And yes, it is convex to the origin. Yes, we will understand the graph. Now we will understand the graph, everybody. See, I am redrawing this graph. Hopefully all are ready. See, right? Now everyone, let this represent apple. X-axis represent apples and Y-axis represent oranges. I am quite sure everybody has understood so far everything. Got it, sir. Got it. Now, apples, you have 1 unit here. You have 2 units here. You have 3 units here. You have 4 units here. Correct? Let's talk about oranges. Okay, let's talk about oranges. Suppose 4 oranges, 5 oranges, 7 oranges, 10 oranges. So when 1 apple, you are having 10 oranges. When 2 apples, you are having 7 oranges. When 3 apples, you are having 5 oranges. When 4, you are having 4. So when you join it like this, you are automatically getting the curve in difference. It's not a straight downward sloping. Right? It's not a straight downward sloping, it's convex. Now your question is why, sir? Your question is why, sir? Okay, I'll answer this. See, everyone you know that to increase one commodity, we have to sacrifice some other commodity. Yes, sir, we know this. That is called MRS. The quantity of sacrifice is called MRS. See, when you are having 1 apple, you are having 10 oranges. So no sacrifice as such, correct? MRS means marginal rate of substitution. Now to have one more apple, see, initially you have less of apples. Initially आपके पास apple कम है, oranges ज़्यादा है. तो होगा क्या? What will happen? You are ready to sacrifice more oranges. You know, because you want more apple. So you are ready to sacrifice 3 oranges. See, from 10 to 7. But now, to get 1 more apple, yes, you like apples, but this time you are not willing to sacrifice so much for the apples. So let's say you are willing to sacrifice this time 2 oranges only. Last time you were ready to sacrifice 3, but you know law of diminishing marginal utility. So the willingness to sacrifice will keep falling down. Now, when you already have 3 apples, now you don't like apples much. So even if somebody offers you 1 more apple, you will be ready to sacrifice oranges, but not much. You will be ready to sacrifice only 1 orange. Again, you can see here law of diminishing marginal utility. Again, you can see here law of diminishing marginal utility. Many of you will be thinking, you know what? Sir, if 1 orange, 1 apple, 10 orange, 2 apples, 7 orange, then if we are decreasing by 3, then for 3 apples also, we must decrease by 3 and become 4. And here also we must decrease by 3 and become 1. Correct na? Most of you must be thinking that, but it is incorrect because law of diminishing marginal utility in reality takes place. So the sacrifice will not be the same always. The willingness to sacrifice will keep falling as you have more and more apples. You remember, as you have more and more of a commodity, the willingness to consume keeps falling. So as you have more and more apple, the willingness to sacrifice oranges in order to get apples keeps on falling. This is what law of diminishing marginal utility told us. Is it clear, everyone? This is why it is not the same. First 3, then 2, then 1. This is why the sacrifice is not constant because of law of diminishing marginal utility. Is this crystal clear, everyone? Yo or no in the chat, please. Everybody, come on. Very good. Now in Hindi, once revising it, एज्यूम करते जा रहे हो, आपको पता है आपको ऑरेंजेस सेक्रीफाइस करना है. शुरुआत में आपके पास एक ही एप्पल था, तो इसलिए आप ज्यादा ऑरेंजेस सेक्रीफाइस करने को रेडी थे. देखिए, एप्पल 1 से बढ़ा, ऑरेंज 3 से घटा. बट ग्रेजुअली जब आपका एप्पल बढ़ा, अब आपका सेक्रीफाइस करने का मन कम है ऑरेंजेस के लिए. तो देखिए, सेक्रीफाइस सिर्फ 2 से किया. फिर जब एप्पल बढ़ा, सेक्रीफाइस केवल 1 से किया. यस और नो बताइए। हाँ जी सर, बातचीत क्लियर है। दिस इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एमआरएस। इसी को मार्जिनल रेट ऑफ सब्स्टिट्यूशन कहते हैं। उम्मीद है क्लियर है सब कुछ। वेरी वेरी गुड। Everybody has understood it. Everybody has understood it. So the first question is, there are two questions asked in exam. I mean, I'm telling you, number one, why is indifference curve downward sloping? नीचे की तरफ जा रहा है ना, so why is it downward sloping? The answer is because in order to increase the consumption of one unit, we have to sacrifice the consumption of some other unit. In order to increase the consumption of one unit, we will have to sacrifice the consumption of some units. And hence, indifference curve is downward sloping. But sir, why is it convex to the origin? Why is indifference curve convex to the origin? Friends, indifference curve, yes, you are correct, is convex to the origin. But why is that, sir? It's convex because of diminishing MRS, because MRS constantly falls. 3, 2, 1. If the sacrifice was constant, suppose, then the curve would have been like this, straight one. But because MRS is falling, the curve is convex to the origin. I hope it's clear, everybody. Yes, sir, that's crystal clear. So now, first of all, we talk about assumptions of indifference curve. What are we talking about? Assumptions of indifference curve. Okay. Number one, consumer is rational. As usual, consumer is logical. Rational means logical, of sound mind. Okay. Number two, utility is ordinal. Sir, what does this mean? Utility is ordinal. Utility is ordinal means, friends, utility is ordinal means, friends, that it is possible to arrange elements. Utility is not cardinal. Arrange means you know that you like A most, B less, and C least. You know this. Utility is ordinal is what we call it here. There is number thing 3, transitivity of choice. Sir, what does transitivity mean? Suppose you like apples more than bananas, B, and you like bananas more than, let's say, carrots. So you like apples more than bananas and bananas more than carrots. So this basically translates to you like apples more than carrots. That is, if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then we are assuming that A is greater than C. Hopefully you have understood this much, everyone. Yes, sir. Understood. And finally, consumers' preferences are monotonic. Everybody write down in the chat. How are consumers' preferences? Monotonic. How are consumers' preferences, everyone? Come on in the chat box, please. Yes, you got that correct. Monotonic. Consumer preferences are what? Monotonic. Consumer preferences are what, everyone? Monotonic. Sir, what does monotonic mean? Suppose there are two combinations, combination A and B. You ask the consumer that in combination A, they are getting 10 apples and 5 oranges. In combination B, they are getting 10 apples and 8 oranges. You will tell me as a consumer, which one will you prefer? Combination A or combination B? In both combination, you have 10 apples, but in combination A, there are 5 oranges. Combination B, you are having 8 oranges. Which combination will you prefer? Which combination will you prefer? You all are correct. Sir, you all are correct. That, sir, we will go for combination B. Sir, we will go for combination B. Sir, we will go for combination B. The question is why? Sir, we will go for combination B. Sir, we will go for combination B because apple being the same, we are getting more of oranges in combination B. Very, very good, everybody. Very, very good. So Ankit has answered correct. Anant has answered correct. Anjali, Vidisha, Nikita, good. Swathi, correct. Deepak, correct. Amit, correct. So very good, everyone. Sindhu, correct. This is what it means. Monotonic preferences means that if given an option, consumers will always want to prefer that option which will have more units of some commodity. This is what see in English, monotonic means boring. But here we don't mean boring. Here it means that whichever is greater, consumer will like that. So if you have given two quantity options, consumer will prefer that quantity option which has more quantity. Yeah, that combination which will have more quantity. Bus, full stop. Second option, which is correct. So, what are the assumptions of indifference curve analysis? Number one, consumer knows their tastes and preferences. Number one, consumer knows their tastes and preferences. Number two, utility is ordinal. Number three, transitivity of choice. And number four, monotonic preferences. Consumer knows tastes and preferences means rational consumer. Utility is ordinal means you cannot measure utility. You can rank, you can arrange, you can order, but you cannot, measure it or value it rather. Next is there is transitivity of choice. Transitivity of choice means if combination A is preferred over B and B is preferred over C, automatically it translates to A being preferred over C. Automatically translates to A being preferred over C. And monotonic means given the options, consumer will always go for that quantity combination which will contain more of some commodity. That is the quantity जहां पे ज्यादा होगा. Right, sir. So there are four assumptions of indifference curve. Number one, consumer rational है. Number two, utility ordinal है. Transitivity of choice मतलब अगर A B से ज्यादा है और B C से ज्यादा पसंद है तो A C से ज्यादा पसंद होगा. हिंदी में अगर एप्पल बनाना से ज्यादा पसंद है और बनाना कैरेट से ज्यादा पसंद है तो ऑटोमेटिकली एप्पल कैरेट से ज्यादा पसंद है. उम्मीद है बात समझ में आ रही है. फाइनली मोनोटोनिक प्रेफरेंसेस. अगर दो कॉम्बिनेशन है, कंज्यूमर हमेशा वो कॉम्बिनेशन चूज करेगा जिसमें उसको ज्यादा क्वांटिटी या ज्यादा मात्रा में सामान मिल रही होगी. कंज्यूमर विल ऑलवेज गो फॉर दैट कॉम्बिनेशन where consumer will get more of a particular commodity. Hopefully it's crystal clear, everyone. Sir, what is indifference map? Set of indifference curves is called indifference map. Meaning, I will show you with a diagram. Suppose here it is apple, here it is oranges. Now I draw more than one indifference curve. Okay? IC1, IC2. See, this is IC1. This is IC2. This is IC3. So there are multiple indifference curves here. But the set of this indifference curves is called indifference map. The set of this indifference curves is called indifference map. The set of this indifference curves is called indifference map. Hopefully it's crystal clear to everybody. Come on. So what is indifference map? Set of indifference curves. Okay, great. Now the question is about the features of indifference curve. Now we are discussing some features or properties of indifference curve. Number one, it is downward sloping. You all have seen it, na? What does downward sloping mean? If the diagram goes from left to right, downwards. From left to right like this, that is called downward sloping. Just like demand curve. Sir, indifference curve is downward sloping. Why, sir? Obviously, if you want to increase the consumption of apple, you will have to reduce the consumption of oranges. If you want to increase the consumption of apples, you will have to reduce the consumption of oranges. If you want to increase the consumption of apples, you will have to reduce the consumption of oranges. Hence, it is downwards to the right. Basically, hence it is downward sloping. Hence, it is downward sloping, everybody. Got it, sir. Very, very good. So indifference curve is how? Indifference curve is sloping downwards to the right. Now, convexity to the origin. Indifference curve is convex to the origin. Means, see, for downward sloping, there are two options. Na? A curve can be downward sloping when it is like this, straight down, or it can be like this, like here. But indifference curve is the second case. Why? Because the sacrifice is constantly falling. Suppose the sacrifice was constant, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, then the curve would have been like this, the first case. But in reality, the sacrifice is falling. That is, MRS is falling. Hence, it is convex to the origin. Write it down, golden point of the day. MRS is convex to the origin because of diminishing MRS. MRS is convex to the origin. I mean, indifference curve is convex to the origin. Indifference curve is convex to the origin because of diminishing MRS. Indifference curve is convex to the origin because of diminishing MRS. Indifference curve is convex to the origin because of diminishing or falling MRS. Note it down and then write done in the chat. Then only I will explain further. Good, good. Just a moment. Sorry. Yes. So now, this is marginal rate of substitution. Sir, what is marginal rate of substitution? The quantity of a certain commodity you are willing to give up to get 1 unit of other commodity. Write down what is MRS. Write down a question. What is MRS? Write down a question. What is MRS? What is MRS? Write down marginal rate of substitution. Marginal rate of substitution is the number of units. Marginal rate of substitution is the number of units of a commodity sacrificed to gain additional units of some other commodity. To gain additional units of some other commodity. So as you can see, what is MRS? It is the number of units of a commodity sacrificed to gain additional units of some other commodity. To gain additional units of some other commodity. It is the number of units of a commodity sacrificed to gain additional units of some other commodity. जैसे यहाँ पर आप लोग देखो, आप लोग एक एप्पल पाने के लिए 3 ऑरेंजेस, या एक एप्पल पाने के लिए 2 ऑरेंजेस, या एक एप्पल पाने के लिए 1 ऑरेंज सेक्रीफाइस करने को यहां पर तैयार थे. इसको एमआरएस कहते हैं. इसको एमआरएस कहते हैं. फर्स्ट लेवल पर एमआरएस कुछ नहीं था, सेकंड पे थर्ड, दूसरे पे 2 और लास्ट में 1. क्यों? क्योंकि देखिए 1 पे तो कुछ भी नहीं है, इधर पे 10 से 7 हुआ, यानी कि 3 का सेक्रीफाइस, हियर 2 का सेक्रीफाइस, हियर 1 का सेक्रीफाइस. So it is basically how many units you are ready to sacrifice. Here 3, here 2, here 1. That is what MRS is. I will read it out again. Marginal rate of substitution is the number of units of a commodity sacrificed to gain additional units of some other commodity. To gain additional units of some other commodity. Hopefully it's crystal clear, everyone. Yes. Yes. Sir, we got it, sir. Very good. Very good. So friends, remember, higher indifference curve gives higher satisfaction. Higher indifference curve gives higher satisfaction. Got it, everyone? Now moving on. Higher indifference curve gives higher satisfaction. Why, sir? Okay, I will elaborate it for you. Don't worry, I am explaining this point. I am redrawing the diagram. Okay? See. See. Have a look here. I have drawn a curve here. I hope all of you are able to see it. All right. Suppose I draw here apple, here oranges. Okay. Now I have drawn two indifference curve. IC1, IC2. The question is which one is better? Now try and understand. Suppose you take a point like this. Okay. So suppose this shows two oranges and three apples. Good. Now, staying at the same point, we extend our combination. Staying at the same point, we extend our combination. So see, apple remains at 3, but oranges come to, let's say, number 5. I mean 5 units. So higher indifference curve, here it being IC2, gives the more level of satisfaction, because as you see here, it is 3, 5 here. Or I would rather say, I would reverse it. It would be 5, 3 here. It would be 5, 3 here. So higher indifference curve gives higher level of satisfaction. But if you see at this combination, you are getting 2 oranges and 3 apples, while you are getting 5 and 3. That's why I'm saying higher indifference curve gives more satisfaction. Hopefully clear. This was feature number 3. Because you will get more of a commodity. Like here you see, here you were getting 2 oranges, here you are getting 5 oranges. So you are getting more of oranges without having to sacrifice any apple. Because both have 3 apples only. Yes. That is why we say IC2 for a consumer's point of view is better. IC2 from a consumer's point of view is better. I hope it's crystal clear now. This is what I was explaining. Higher indifference curve gives more satisfaction. Now, friends, I feel like asking some MCQ to you all. So let me ask the question. Let me ask the question. MCQ. Question is, all points on indifference curve have same cost. Number 2, same revenue. Number 3, same satisfaction. Number 3, same satisfaction. Number 4, all the above. So all points on indifference curve have what? Number 1, same cost, same revenue, same satisfaction, or all the above. Which one do you think is the correct answer, friends? All points on indifference curve have what? Same cost, same revenue, same satisfaction, or all the above. Which one do you think is correct? What? Very good. Good answer, everybody. Good to see all are following the class carefully and correct. Correct. Same level of satisfaction. Very, very good. Very, very good. Achha. Another question, then let me ask you. Another question, then let me ask you. Yes, sir, please go ahead. The question is, MRS gradually option A rises, B falls, C remains constant, D becomes negative. What do you think is your answer, friends? What happens to MRS gradually? Come on, everybody. You are correct. MRS gradually falls. Everybody, you are correct. MRS gradually falls. MRS gradually falls. You all are correct. number four, and a very important feature rather. Two indifference curves can never intersect one another. I will write it for you all again. Two indifference curves can never intersect. You all will ask me why. I will explain that. Can never intersect one another. Why, sir? I will answer this. Okay, remember MRS will always fall because of law of diminishing marginal utility. MRS will always fall because of law of diminishing marginal utility. If MRS rises, the curve will be like this, which is not the true case. Now moving on. Two indifference curves can never intersect one another. Now we will follow the law of contradiction. Let's follow the law of contradiction. Sir, what does this state? Let us assume that IC can intersect. Let us assume, yes, they cannot intersect, that is the truth. But for the sake of assumption, let's assume that two indifference curves can intersect. Assume two indifference curves can intersect one another. Let us assume two indifference curves can intersect one another. Now what happens? See, pay attention. This is indifference curve 1. This is indifference curve 2. We are assuming what? That they can intersect. Okay, great. Now let me mark 3 points. How many points we are marking? 3 points. We are assuming they can intersect. Very good. Let it be point A, which is common to both ICs. This is point B and this is point C. Okay, everyone? Now see, on indifference curve, all the points give the same satisfaction. On indifference curve, all the points give the same level of satisfaction. Yes or no? Yes, sir. So, if you see indifference curve 1, A and C are found. So, both A and C give same satisfaction. In indifference curve 2, both B and C are there. In indifference curve 2, both not B and C, rather B and A are there. So, in indifference curve 2, A and B are there. And you will remember, all points on indifference curve give the same satisfaction. Everybody write down in the chat box, all points on indifference curve. All points on indifference curve give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. All points on indifference curve give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. All points on indifference curve give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Write it down first. Very good. You have written it down. Now, by logic, if A and C give same satisfaction, A and B give same satisfaction, so A, B and C give same satisfaction. But in reality, C lies above B. But in reality, C lies above B. So C gives more satisfaction than B. So it is not possible. So two indifference curves can never intersect. Because it cannot be two things at a time. That both B and C give same satisfaction as well as C gives more satisfaction than B. How is it possible? It is like we are contradicting our own assumption. And hence, our assumption is contradicted. Two indifference curves can never intersect. They will run parallel. They will never intersect. Hopefully, it's crystal clear, everyone. Very, very good. Very good. So some more questions from MCQ. Let me ask you all. Okay. Okay, let's go. You will answer me this question. In ordinal approach, utility can be measured, calculated, ranked, or none of the above. In ordinal approach, what happens? Utility can be measured, can it be ranked, can it be calculated, or none of these? What say? Very good. Shreya, Ardhindu, correct answer. Pratima, very good. Varun, correct answer. Bhumika, correct answer. This is ordinal approach. In cardinal approach, utility can be measured. In ordinal approach, utility cannot be measured. It can be ranked, cannot be measured rather. Acha. Again, another question. Which curve shows the same level of satisfaction? A, indifference curve. B, budget line. C, marginal cost curve. D, average cost curve. What say everybody? Correct. Correct. Indifference curve is the answer. You all are correct. Indifference curve is the answer. Okay. Acha. If combination A is preferred over combination B and combination B is preferred over combination C, then combination A will be preferred over combination C. Which assumption of indifference curve talks about this? Monotonic preferences, transitivity, satiety, or all the above? Where if combination A is better than B, B is better than C, then A will be better than C. Which indifference curve is highlighting this point? Which assumption of indifference curve is highlighting this? A, monotonic, B, transitive, C, satiety, D, all the above. What say everyone? That's right. The answer is transitivity. Because monotonic preferences tells us that you will prefer more quantity. Transitivity talks about quality. So yes, answer is transitivity. Very good. Acha. What is the shape of indifference curve? Downward sloping, upward sloping, horizontal sloping, vertical sloping. Which slope is found in indifference curve? Everybody. Which slope is found in indifference curve, everyone? Options are with you. Downward slope, upward slope, horizontal slope, vertical slope. Come on, everyone, answer me this question. Very good. Downward sloping, all have answered correct. Palak, Nancy, correct answer. Amit, correct answer. It is indeed the downward sloping. Correct answer. So your answer is downward sloping. Again, the next question is indifference curve is dash to the origin. What is it to the origin? Very good. Convex to the origin. You know, a shape like this is called convex to the origin. Suppose it was like this, it is called concave. Production possibility curve in 11-12 was concave. But here we are talking about convexity. It goes like this. Why is it convex to the origin? Why is it convex to the origin? That is indifference curve. Because MRS declines, because MRS rises, or because MRS is constant. Yes, Palli, your answer is correct. Yes, because of declining MRS, because of diminishing or rather declining MRS, everyone. Good answer. MRS falls now 3, 2, 1 we had seen. As and when Apple increased, sacrifice reduced. Correct. Higher IC. IC means indifference curve. What will happen to higher IC? Higher indifference curve. Will it give lesser satisfaction? Will it give higher satisfaction? Will it give equal satisfaction everywhere? Or the answer is none of the above. What do you say, friends? So see, higher indifference curve will give higher satisfaction. Absolutely, that's the fantastic and correct answer. That's a fantastic and correct answer again. Hopefully, it's crystal clear to all of you. Yes. Higher indifference curve will give higher satisfaction. Higher indifference curve will give higher satisfaction. Hopefully, it's crystal clear to everyone. Next, which indifference curve in the diagram will give more satisfaction? We are doing diagram based practice now. IC1 or IC2? Which one do you think, guys, will give more level of satisfaction to the consumer? Yes. Higher indifference curve gives more level of satisfaction. So answer will be indifference curve 1. Next question is, can indifference curve 1 and 2 intersect? What do you say? Yes, no, maybe, or all of these are correct. Yes, Arpan, Gautam, correct. Palak, correct. Can indifference curve 1 and 2 intersect? The answer is no, they cannot intersect. We have done this property recently, very recently. So, to sum it up, indifference curve has the following property. Number one, it is downward sloping. Number two, it is convex to the origin. Number three, higher indifference curve gives more satisfaction. Two indifference curves can never intersect. One more feature, indifference curve will never touch x and y axis. One more feature, write it down. Indifference curves will never touch x and y axis. I will explain why. First, you write it down. Indifference curves will never touch x and y axis. Why? I will answer that. Very good. Indifference curves never touch x and y axis. This is the fifth point. Hopefully you have written it down. Now, let me explain. See, I am drawing an indifference curve, okay? Suppose this is apple, this is orange. I draw an indifference curve like this. I name it IC1. Now, suppose here apples are 5 units. Or here, suppose you touch the axis. Now, touching the axis at this point means, 5 oranges, 0 apples. Is it possible to have only one commodity? Because you all know in maths, you have understood that whenever we touch the axis, if we touch the x-axis, then y is 0. If we touch the y-axis, then quantity of x is 0. But is that literally possible? Can we assume that? Yes, you people are correct. Sir, it is not correct to say that. It is not correct to assume that. You all are absolutely correct in saying so. And hence, my dear friends, we draw this diagram as I have shown it to you here. Hence, we draw this diagram as I have showcased you right here. Correct. Because we want combination of two commodities. If I touch the axis, then one of them will become 0. Suppose I erase this and I touch y-axis now. Let me touch y-axis now. Here what has happened? Suppose apples I am taking 4. So oranges are 0. Array, you need combination of two commodities. At this combination A, oranges are 0. So is it a valid combination? No. Because for a combination to exist, two commodities must be prevailing. Friends, yes or no? Come on, friends, yes or no? Yes, sir. And so, any indifference curve can never touch x-axis or y-axis. Everybody, you write down in the chat that you have learned it. Indifference curve can never touch any axis, neither x or nor y. Why? It would mean that one of the commodities is becoming 0, which is not possible because we have spoken that in indifference curve analysis, we need combination of two different commodities. अगर अपने एक्सिस को टच करवा देंगे तो एक कमोडिटी तो 0 हो जाएगा ना. मतलब मान लीजिए एक्स एक्सिस को टच करवाएं तो वाई 0 हो गया और वाई एक्सिस को टच करवाए तो एक्स 0 हो गया. तो दोनों में से एक तो 0 हो ही गया ना. बात समझ रहे हैं नहीं समझ रहे आप लोग? Right. So indifference curve can neither touch x-axis nor y-axis. So now, friends, before I start further or before I talk any further, right? Before I talk any further, I am giving you all 5 minutes of time. Those who want to drink water, you can take this rest for 5 minutes. Others who have questions, I am here only, I am not going anywhere. You may ask your doubts. Any question for the next 5 minutes, please? I am allowing. And those who want to take some rest, who want to drink some water, can do that. For the next 5 minutes sharp. And others, please ask your question. Yes, Shoaib, we will discuss that. Yes, we will discuss that. You need to remember this only, Shoaib. What I have taught here. That is enough. Okay, Vidisha. See, Vidisha, you tell me one thing. Vidisha, you tell me that when you are increasing apple, you are sacrificing oranges. Yes or no? Tell me this much. Again, when you have increased apple by 1, you have sacrificed oranges by 2. And if again, when you have increased apple by 1, you have sacrificed oranges by 1. Yes or no? Now, Vidisha, you tell me, is this amount of sacrifice constant or is it falling? Correct? Sir, it's falling. If it was constant, then the MRS would have been downward sloping like this. But since it is constantly falling, the shape is convex like this. I hope now it is crystal clear. Okay, Giffen goods. Giffen goods are basically inferior goods. I gave the example now that bread is inferior relative to chicken that was observed in World War. That is a Giffen good, a quality, a kind of inferior good. All right. Okay, Pratiksha. Monotonic preferences means, Pratiksha, that suppose I give you 5 chocolates and an option of choosing 7 chocolates. Pratiksha, you tell me which one will you choose? 5 chocolates or 7 chocolates? And you have to sacrifice the same 5 rupees you have to sacrifice, but in one you will get 5 chocolates, in the other you will get 7 chocolates, both of same quality. Which one will you choose? Obviously 7 chocolates. This is what monotonic preferences is, that whenever consumer has to sacrifice nothing in addition to the regular sacrifice, and in one case they have an option to consume something extra, and in the other one they have less, you will always go for the option where you have something extra. The greater the better. Monotonic preference in simple language is the greater the better. Write down in the chat. The greater the better. That is monotonic preferences. Correct, Mehak. The greater the better. Yes, Anant. IC can never intersect. Because Anant, if two IC intersect, then at the common point, it means that all the points are giving same satisfaction. If suppose two IC intersect like this, it will mean that combination A here, B here, and C here gives same satisfaction. Why? Because a common point they are sharing. But can two ICs give same satisfaction? No. Higher IC gives higher satisfaction. So how can there be a common point? Common point means both ICs giving same satisfaction. Is that possible? Definitely not. Okay, friends, 2 more minutes, then we will start. No, MRS can't be negative. I mean, actually it is negative only because you are measuring sacrifice. Okay, you are giving up. So it is negative only. We just write it in a positive way. Okay, one of our friends is asking, sir, how do we maintain notes? The simple trick to maintaining notes is, simple trick is, after the class is over, after this class is over, open ICI material. Okay. First of all, visit the endpoints where summary notes are given. That is already done. Institute has already done all those things. You revise from there and then word by word go through the book. That is your notes. Your best book, your best note is the ICI material itself. Okay, let's go now. So friends, now we talk about budget line. You will remember, in order to arrive at equilibrium, in order to arrive at equilibrium, in order to arrive at equilibrium, everybody, what did we study? In order to arrive at equilibrium, both the indifference curve and the budget line should intersect one another. In order to arrive at equilibrium, both the indifference curve and budget line should intersect one another. Now the question is, what is budget line? Next question is, what is budget line? So friends, budget line is a combination of two commodities. Budget line is a combination of two commodities that cost the same. Budget line is a combination of two commodities that cost the same. Here we are not talking about same level of satisfaction. Here we are talking about same level of kharcha, same level of cost, same level of expenditure. Acha, various combination, but the resulting is same level of cost. Let me give you an example. Suppose a person has fixed income of rupees 100. Suppose. Now that person can either buy ice cream or can buy chocolate. Suppose ice cream costs 20 rupees per unit and chocolate costs rupees 10 per unit. Suppose. Now, there are 6 combinations displayed here. Suppose a person doesn't have any ice cream. If they don't have any ice cream, then out of 100 rupees, they can have 10 chocolates because 10 rupees per chocolate. So there are 10 chocolates options available. Or, now friends, or suppose combination B. What you can do is, the person can have one ice cream. In that scenario, 20 rupees gone. So from the remaining 80 rupees, person can have 80 by 10. That is 8 chocolates. See, in all these places, the kharcha, the cost is the same. Same. Similarly, suppose the person has 2 ice cream. So 40 rupees gone. So for 60 rupees, they can have 6. So here it is 6. Suppose the person has 3 ice cream. So 60 gone. From 40 rupees, they can have 4. Again, suppose they have 4 ice cream. So 80 rupees gone. For remaining 20 rupees, they can have 2 chocolates. Or suppose they have 5 ice cream. So 100 rupees gone. Then how many chocolates? 0 chocolates. Yes or no? These combinations, what is common into this combination? Not the level of satisfaction, but the level of total cost that is incurred. This is what a budget line reflects. Hopefully it's crystal clear, everyone. Yes, it's correct. In Hindi again, बजट लाइन क्या है? बजट लाइन अलग अलग कमोडिटीज का मेनली 2 कमोडिटीज का अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन है. 2 कमोडिटीज का अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन है. बजट लाइन 2 कमोडिटीज का अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन है. दो कमोडिटीज का अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन है जहां पे खर्चा सेम ही होता है, जहां खर्चे में कोई अंतर नहीं पड़ता है. That is what budget line is. So friends, my question to you is, you can take it to be an MCQ question. In budget line, what remains constant? What remains constant in a budget line? Come on, everyone. What remains constant in a budget line? Answer this one for me. Come on. Correct answer. So in budget line, the total cost remains the same. In budget line, the total cost remains the same. That's correct. So what is a budget line? Budget line is a graph showing various combination of. What is budget line? I am dictating. Budget line is a curve showing various combination of. Budget line is a curve showing various combination of. Budget line is a curve showing various combination of. And one more time. Budget line is a curve showing various combination of two commodities that cost the same. Two commodities that cost the same. Two commodities that cost the same. Correct. Now, one interesting thing. One interesting thing you see. One interesting thing you see. There is a formula. Price of X into quantity of X. That is price of chocolate into quantity of chocolate. You see here, price of chocolate was 8. I mean, price of chocolate was 10, quantity was 8. So price of chocolate was 10, quantity 8, plus quantity of ice cream into price of ice cream 20. When you do this, you will get the monetary income, that is 80 plus 20 is 100. This is what is given here. When you multiply price of X with quantity of X and you add it to price of Y multiplied by quantity of Y, you get M or monetary income. You get M or monetary income or total income of the consumer. Hopefully it's crystal clear, everyone. Correct. Now, we mark the extreme points. What do we mark here? Extreme points. Let me give you an example. Suppose the person spends their entire income on buying chocolates. What is the price of one chocolate? 10 rupees. So what is the maximum chocolate they will be able to buy? 100 rupees divided by 10. That is 10. So this is 10. Extreme point 1. Again, if we are talking about ice cream, now per unit cost is 20 rupees. And if the person spends their entire income on ice cream, 100 by 20 is 5. So yes, budget line touches the axis. Yes, budget line touches the axis. 5 ice creams. So either you can have 10 chocolates or 5 ice creams. Understood, everyone? And in middle, you have both chocolates and ice cream, both chocolate and ice cream in the middle combinations, just like this one. Just like this one. Here I will show it to you. This one, B, C, D, E, F. Here you can have both the different combinations. Hopefully it's crystal clear, everyone. All right, sir. We got it, sir. This is how a budget line curve looks. A downward sloping straight line. Budget line is a downward sloping straight line. Downward sloping straight line. Because you see here, we are not sacrificing. Yes, we are sacrificing, but all is in terms of price. and price ratio is constant here. See, price ratio 20 by 10 is always 2 or 10 by 20 is always 1 by 2. So here price ratio is constant. In budget line, price ratio is constant. What was happening there? There MRS was falling. Here price ratio is constant and so budget line is a downward sloping straight line. DSSL means downward sloping straight line. Downward sloping again because of sacrifice being involved. And straight line why? Obviously because straight line it is because that price ratio is constant here. Come on everyone. In budget line, what is constant? Price ratio. That is price of X by price of Y. That is constant here. Okay. Acha. Now, institute may ask you, obviously in the form of MCQ, that when will there be a shift in budget line? When will there be a shift in budget line? When will be there a shift in budget line? When will there be a shift in budget line? Number one, when price of products change. Sir, how? I will give you an example. Suppose here, in the original case, you could buy 10 chocolates and 5 oranges. Or I mean 5 ice creams, correct? 10 here, 5 here. Okay? But suppose price of chocolates initially was rupees 10. Now it becomes rupees 20. So now you can only buy 5 chocolates. So initially the budget line was here. Now it has shifted downwards. And suppose now the price of ice creams have reduced to 10 rupees. So now you can buy more ice cream. So see, budget line has shifted. So budget line can change because of number one, change in price of one or both the products. Change in price of one or both the products. Agreed, disagreed, everybody. Come on, everybody. Agreed or disagreed? Case one. All right, agreed. Case two, let me tell you. Suppose we come back to the original scenario. Suppose we come back to our original scenario. Okay. So you were having, everyone, you were having 10 ice creams or 10 chocolates and 5 ice cream, correct? But suppose your income has increased from 100 to 200. Array, so if your income has increased from 100 to 200, now you can buy both more of ice creams and more of chocolates. You can buy 20 ice creams. As a matter of fact, if you can buy 10 chocolates, so see, there is a rightward shift here. We are discussing shift. Rightward or leftward doesn't matter. So a change in income can also cause a shift in budget line. Right? And the third scenario is but obvious when both change. When both change. Where there is change in both price and there is change in both income. Where there is change in both price and there is change in both income. When both price and income change. This is when you see the third case happening. This is when you see the third case happening. Hopefully it's crystal clear, everyone. Okay. Now we understand how to arrive at equilibrium. Arriving at equilibrium, we will discuss. All of us, I hope, are ready. Arriving at equilibrium. Correct. So, how do we arrive at equilibrium? Equilibrium under what approach? Yes, you all guessed it correct. Under ordinal approach or indifference curve analysis approach. Under ordinal approach or indifference curve analysis approach. Okay. So see. See. There are different indifference curves, you see. Okay. IC1, IC2, IC3. Difference in difference curve. It is also called an indifference map. Let me write here apples. Let me write down here oranges. Okay. Now, income is one. See, a person can have different want levels, but budget, they have only one. So there will be a single budget line. So there will be a single budget line. So there will be a single budget line. So see, I draw this diagram for you. Okay. Now see, obviously, you can see this point, point E that I have written, where budget line is tangent. The red color budget line is tangent to indifference curve. Sir, what does tangent mean? Suppose this is a curve. Tangent is a straight line that touches the curve externally at a single point. Tangent is a straight line that touches a curve externally at a single point. Tangent is a line that touches the curve externally at a single point. Tangent is a line that touches the curve externally at a single point. Everyone, tangent is a line that touches the curve externally at a single point. Tangent is a line that touches the curve externally at a single point, everyone. Tangent is a line that touches the curve externally at a single point, everyone. And see, this happens at E. So what is equilibrium? The point of tangency. The point of tangency, that is the point at which budget line touches the indifference curve from outside. From outside. Here it is inside the indifference curve 1. So it is not equilibrium. Equilibrium is a point where budget line and IC2 are intersecting. Hopefully it's crystal clear, because it matches the consumer's income with the consumer satisfaction level. So equilibrium is achieved at the point where these two are possible. Friends, now let me ask you another MCQ. Let me ask you another MCQ. See, my question is, when will budget line shift? Option A, change in income. B, change in price of X, commodity X, I mean. Change in price of commodity X. C, change in price of commodity Y. And D, all the above. Which one do you think is correct, everyone? Very good. So your answer should be all the above. Because if income changes, the budget, if income rises, budget line will shift rightward. If income falls, it will shift leftward. If price of, let's say, X changes, okay? Suppose consumer can buy more of X. So if the budget line was originally like this, it will become like this. Similarly, if Y, consumer can purchase more, then Y will shift upwards. So yes, whatever the case may be, all the cases are possible. Be it change in price, change in income, price of X or Y, whatever it can be. Question 2. What is the shape of budget line? Option A, convex, B, concave, C, downward sloping, straight line, D, none of above. Which one do you think? Slope of budget line this time I'm asking, mind you, not indifference curve. C is the correct answer. Okay. Next question. Where under in ordinal approach, equilibrium is achieved. A, when two budget lines intersect. B, budget line, two indifference curves intersect. C, budget line touches indifference curve externally. Budget line touches indifference curve externally. D, budget line touches indifference curve internally. Where under ordinal approach is equilibrium achieved, friends? Correct. Where budget line touches indifference curve externally. Correct. Question 4. Px into Qx plus Py into Qy equals to what? Option A, expenditure. B, income. C, both. D, none. Come on, everyone. Very good. The answer is it is both expenditure as well as income. Okay. Now, I am highlighting for you some key summary points from this chapter, consumer behavior. Key summary points from consumer behavior. All of you pick up your copies and pens, please. Start writing this one. Key summary points we are noting down. This is, you know, just on the examination morning, if you want to revise something, you can take help of this one. Okay, let's go ahead. Number one, Alfred Marshall gave cardinal approach. Number two, Hicks and Allen gave ordinal approach. Number three, cardinal approach. As per cardinal approach, utility can be quantified. As per ordinal approach, utility can't be quantified. Number five, in cardinal approach, we discussed total utility, marginal utility. In ordinal approach, we discuss indifference curve and budget line. First of all, note this much down, everyone. Then we will write further. I am writing it point wise so that the entire two classes can be summarized at a go. Write down and then let me know. And number six, moving on to number six, everyone. Number six is in indifference curve, all combinations give same level of satisfaction. In budget line, all combinations cost the same. And remember, it is both because your budget and expenditure are the same. So yes, it is both. Budget line, all combinations cost the same. Indifference curve, following features we noted down. We noted down that it is downward sloping. Why? As there is some sacrifice involved. To increase one, we have to sacrifice the other. It is convex to the origin. It means different rates of sacrifice, or rather diminishing MRS, or much more simplistic, diminishing MRS. Number three, indifference curves never touch each other. Can never intersect. Number four, indifference curves, higher indifference curve gives more satisfaction. Point E. In indifference curve only we are discussing. Indifference curve never touch x-axis or y-axis. Never touch x-axis or y-axis. Everybody note it down, please. When done this much, write down done. Very good, yeah. Okay. Ninth question is the definition of budget line. Budget line. Not the definition, rather, let's write out some features of it. A budget line is also downward sloping. Why? Because here also there is some sacrifice involved. It is straight because the price ratio is constant. Because the price ratio is constant, in budget line we follow Px into Qx plus Py into Qy equals to monetary income or expenditure or the budget. Point D. Are you ready all? Right. Budget line intersects with indifference curve. Such tangency gives us equilibrium. Such tangency gives us equilibrium. Okay, let me give you next question, everyone. If you have understood so much, let me give you next question. Acha. I mean the 10th point, MRS. What does it stand for, everyone? Correct. Very good. MRS stands for marginal rate of substitution. The rate at which to gain one commodity, the quantity of other commodity that we are sacrificing is MRS. So everyone, its full form is marginal rate of substitution. It is the quantity of one commodity that must be sacrificed to gain it is the quantity of one commodity that must be sacrificed to gain one additional unit unit of another commodity. Correct. Number 11. Assumptions. Number 11. Assumptions of IC. Indifference curve analysis. Assumptions. Number 1. Utility is ordinal. Number 2. Consumer is rational. Utility is ordinal. Consumer is rational. Transitivity. Transitivity of choice. What does it say? That if consumer prefers commodity A to commodity B and commodity B to commodity C, that implies consumer will prefer commodity A to commodity C. Right? Number 4. Monotonic preferences. Preferences. Monotonic preferences means greater quantity better for the consumer. Greater the better. I mean, the greater the quantity, the better better it is for the consumer. Friends, have you noted it down? See this 11 points that I have made you write down, na? More or less completes the or summarizes the entire topic or entire chapter. Now I will ask some MCQs from you all. Okay? All right, let's go. Acha, here I will include MCQs of both. MCQs of demand as well as consumer equilibrium. Remember? So it is going to be a cumulative test. What we have done now as well as other. So let me take a short test for you all. This test is of around, let's say 10 marks. You all will give yourself marks. And at the end of the day means at the end of conducting, you all will tell me your marks. Okay. So let's start. Each question is of 1 marks and everything is of MCQ type. Remember, the questions are going to be from demand as well as from consumer equilibrium. This will help me find out who is revising and who is not. Okay. So let's go ahead then. Question 1. Question 1. Which one of the following is exception to law of demand? To the law of demand. A. Given goods. A. Given goods. B. Bandwagon goods. C. Both. D. None. Answer me this one. Come on, everyone. Which of the following is exception to law of demand? So friends, for part 1, the answer is C. Let me give you next question. And I hope you all are marking your answers. Okay, give yourself 1 mark if you have done it correct. Next. Which of following is assumed to be constant as per law of demand? A. Price of complementary goods. B. Price of supplementary goods, substitute goods. C. Price of substitute goods. C. Income. D. All above. Next. This answer is all the above. Next question. A diagram based question I am asking. B. C. Now I am asking 2 questions from here. Okay, so 3 is of 2 marks. Question 1 is, 3 part 1 is, which one is equilibrium point? Option A, B, C, D. Which one is equilibrium point? 3 part 1. So here the answer is point A is the equilibrium point. Okay. Sub part 2. Which of following are correct? A. Indifference curve 1 gives more satisfaction than indifference curve 2. B. Indifference curve and indifference curve 2 give equal satisfaction. C. Indifference curve 2 gives more satisfaction than indifference curve 1. D. None of above is true. Come on, which one is correct? Yes, you all are correct. Indifference curve 1, curve 2 being higher, indifference curve 2 gives more satisfaction than indifference curve. Okay. Number 3. C, matlab 3 part 2 C is correct. Okay. Question number 4. So 4 questions are over so far. Okay, next one. Income effect is mainly related to A. Real income. B. Nominal income. C. Expenses. D. Revenues. This question is of 1 mark again. So with here, 5 marks will be over. So let me have your opinion, everyone. So see, income effect is mainly related to real income, which is also called purchasing power, Okay, next question. Income effect plus substitution effect equal to option A, quantity effect, B, price effect, C, expenditure effect, D, none of these. Yes. Income effect plus substitution effect is what? Yes. You people are answering correct. The answer is price effect. Correct. So 6 marks over till now. Question 6. Budget line shows same level of cost of commodities, B, satisfaction, C, none, D, both. Very good. Same level of cost. So 7 marks over so far. Next question. Next question. Point of tangency is arrived at when budget line touches the indifference curve, A, externally, B, internally, C, both, D, none. Come on, everyone. Which is the point of tangency? Correct. MRS diminishes due to A, law of demand, B, law of diminishing marginal utility, C, law of supply, D, all the above. MRS diminishes due to what? MRS diminishes due to what? Very good. Due to law of diminishing marginal utility. Correct. Next, law of DMU does not apply to habit, B, customs, C, money. D, all. Law of DMU does not apply to. To what it does not apply? Good. It does not apply to any of these. So your answer will be all. Now, friends, how many of you have been able to score full marks? Come on. Because now I am keeping the questions very easy. Because the first goal is that you prepare the baseline at least. Okay. Divisha, okay, good. What about other friends? Okay, Ruhani, very good. Chanchal, good. Vadehi, good. Palli, correct. Okay. Rohit, okay. Yes, Rohit. Law income effect is related to real income. Substitution effect is that when you increase the price of tea, automatically coffee becomes cheaper. So coffee's demand rises. These two effects taken together is called price effect in demand. Okay. Okay, Saloni, very good. Aniket, okay. Chaitanya, okay, good. All right. Okay, Vidisha, great. Anant, great. So, friends, I hope all of you are finding economics, or rather, this business economics easy by now. Yes or no, everyone? Easy and conceptual. Yes or no? Come on. Yes, sir. So, very good. It definitely is. You just need to follow two things I have said time and again. Number one, attend our class properly, religiously. Number one. Once you have done this, number two, institute's material, go through, institute question, solve. Enough. Since it's my subject, business economics, I can tell you, rest assured, you don't need to do anything else. Easily, you will score very good marks. Trust on that. Okay. So that's it for the day, guys. Thank you very much. Goodbye for the day. Next day, we will start talking about supply. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.